The UN Human Rights Council has approved an international investigation into Iran's violent crackdown on protesters by 25 votes to 6, with 16 abstentions. The UN says more than 300 people have been killed and thousands arrested since the death of Mahsa Amini in police custody sparked nationwide protests. Stephanie Prentice reports.
Many of Iran's streets look like a war zone. Its people are carrying the battle wounds. Its children are being killed. Like 9-year-old Kian Perfalak, shot dead by security forces. The words Kian Aziz, Kian Dear have now become a painful cry amongst Iranians. The United Nations Human Rights Council says the situation in Iran is now critical.
The unnecessary and disproportionate use of force must come to an end. The old methods and the fortress mentality of those who wield power simply don't work. In fact, they only aggravate the situation. We are now in a full-fledged human rights crisis.
Its members have approved an international fact-finding mission to investigate the crackdown. That's despite Iran's own diplomats fighting hard to block it.
The Islamic Republic of Iran deeply regrets that the Human Rights Council is abused once again by some arrogant states to antagonize a sovereign UN member state that's fully committed to its obligation to promote and protect the human rights.
It took months of the Iranian diaspora pressuring world leaders to get here.
The killing of children, that's something that's really upset us.
This investigation could help catalogue abuses by security forces. That evidence could then be used in international courts to hold the government accountable. The people of Iran have been risking their lives since the death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini in police custody. Protesters here banking on world powers to support them. Stephanie Prentice, BBC News.
Well, let's get more on this story and speak to Yasmin Chubin, who is the Legal Advocacy Director at the Clooney Foundation for Justice and a former prosecutor at the International Criminal Court. And she joins us now from Washington. Thank you very much for joining me, Yasmin. Now, you've been following this closely, this council vote to set up the investigation. Do you believe that the people of Iran are closer to securing their human rights?
Hi, thank you for having me. And yes, I believe today's vote at the Human Rights Council was hugely important for the exact reason that you're saying. The people of Iran are now closer to ensuring their human rights because there will be an investigative mechanism. So the world is now watching, and there will be an independent fact-finding mission that appoints independent experts and an investigative and legal team, which will be investigating the crimes that are happening and reporting regularly.
Now, the world has been watching for some time. I wonder what tools are at the disposal of the international community to support those demonstrating in Iran whilst this investigation is going on?
Well, the international community, through the fact-finding mission, will be able to look at the evidence that's coming out of Iran, interview witnesses, analyze the open source intelligence evidence, and if Iran allows, which is very unlikely, go onto the ground and investigate specifically there.
Now, if this investigation does find conclusive evidence of human rights abuses, what do you think accountability for those crimes should look like vis-a-vis the government?
Well, first, the UN will be able to take different measures, various resolutions, and then there also is the possibility of prosecutions down the line, and that's what we're all very much hoping for, either in international courts or in domestic jurisdictions. The principle of universal jurisdiction can be applied in order to prosecute Iranians, even if they're not citizens or currently residing in one of those countries. And so, but this is, what we need to keep in mind is when we're looking at something like a fact-finding mission or prosecutions down the line, this is a long game, and it can take a significant amount of time. But the reason why it's hugely significant is that the evidence is being captured now in real time. And that's what we've learned time and time again, is that we cannot wait for the evidence to only be recorded down the line 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the line. And we need it to be, we need the investigations and the collection and gathering and the preservation of evidence to happen in real time. And that's what today's resolution accomplishes.
Yasmin Chubin, thank you very much for your time and your contribution there.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.